It was a quiet Friday afternoon at Greenfield High School, and the faculty lounge buzzed with teachers sharing weekend plans. The room smelled faintly of coffee, and the soft hum of conversation filled the air. Some were talking about their students' latest antics, while others discussed recipes for Sunday brunch. Amidst all this, Mr. Thompson, the school principal, sat in his usual corner chair sipping tea from a chipped mug. He was known for two things: his love for storytelling and his quirky sense of humor. Often, his tales left people either laughing or scratching their heads in confusion. On this particular day, however, Mr. Thompson decided to share a story that would make everyone pause. Leaning forward slightly, he cleared his throat to get everyone's attention. His eyes twinkled mischievously as he began speaking. "You know," he said, his voice low but clear enough for everyone to hear, "I heard something absolutely fascinating recently." The teachers exchanged curious glances. They had grown used to Mr. Thompson's exaggerated stories, which ranged from tales of mythical creatures living in the nearby woods to conspiracy theories about ancient civilizations hiding underground. But today, there was something different about his tone. It wasn't playful or exaggerated, it was serious. This caught their interest immediately. "It's not one of my usual tall tales," Mr. Thompson continued, noticing the skeptical looks on some faces. "It's something real. Something big." He paused for dramatic effect, letting the suspense build. A few teachers leaned closer, intrigued despite themselves. Others rolled their eyes, thinking it was just another prank. Finally, he dropped the bombshell. "Aliens exist," he declared confidently. The room fell silent for a moment before bursting into laughter. One teacher even spilled her coffee, trying to stifle her giggles. "Oh, come on, Thompson," someone called out. "What's next? Are you going to tell us they're scared of us?" But instead of laughing along, Mr. Thompson remained calm. With a small smile playing on his lips, he nodded slowly. "Exactly," he replied. "They are scared of us." Now the laughter died down, replaced by puzzled expressions. Even those who had initially dismissed him found themselves listening more intently. Encouraged by their reaction, Mr. Thompson went on to explain further. According to him, Earth wasn't alone in the universe, and contrary to popular belief, humans weren't the weaklings of the galaxy. In fact, humanity had become a force to be reckoned with, thanks to recent technological advancements. He described how human ingenuity had reached new heights, leading to the creation of massive starships capable of traveling between planets and stars. These ships, he claimed, were currently orbiting high above Earth's atmosphere, hidden from view using advanced cloaking technology. "We've been preparing for years," he said, his voice steady. "And now, we're ready." The room erupted into murmurs. Some teachers looked skeptical, while others seemed genuinely interested. "Where did you hear this?" asked Mrs. Carter, the biology teacher, raising an eyebrow. She was always the rational one, quick to question anything that sounded too far-fetched. "My daughter," Mr. Thompson answered without hesitation. At this point, most people expected him to elaborate, perhaps revealing that his daughter worked at NASA or had connections to some top-secret government agency. But instead, he simply added, "She'll tell you herself if she shows up." This statement drew mixed reactions. Some thought it was clever foreshadowing, while others assumed it was part of the joke. Either way, no one could deny that Mr. Thompson had succeeded in capturing their attention. For a brief moment, even the most skeptical among them wondered if there might be some truth to his words. Just then, the door to the faculty lounge creaked open, interrupting the discussion. Everyone turned to see who it was. Standing there was a young woman dressed in professional attire, a crisp blazer over a plain white shirt and dark trousers. Her hair was tied neatly in a bun, and her piercing blue eyes scanned the room with authority. It was Emily Thompson, Mr. Thompson's daughter. The room grew quiet again as Emily stepped inside. Unlike her father, she exuded seriousness and confidence. Her presence commanded respect, and it was clear she meant business. As she walked toward the group, her gaze landed on her father. "Dad," she said firmly, "I told you not to share classified information." Her words sent shockwaves through the room. Classified information? Was this really happening? Teachers exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to believe what they were hearing. Could Mr. Thompson's story actually be true? Mr. Thompson chuckled, nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. Well, I couldn't resist, he admitted sheepishly. Then, turning to the rest of the staff, he gestured proudly toward Emily. Everyone, meet my daughter. She works for NASA, and she knows more about space than any of us combined. Emily sighed deeply, clearly unimpressed by her father's theatrics. Still, she didn't argue. Instead, she pulled out a sleek tablet from her bag and placed it on the table. On its screen was a live feed showing what appeared to be a fleet of enormous triangular ships floating silently in the vastness of space. Each ship was larger than anything anyone had ever seen, glowing faintly under the light of distant stars. These are star destroyers, Emily explained, her voice calm, yet authoritative. They belong to Earth's Galactic Defense Initiative, or GDI for short. And yes, Dad wasn't lying when he said aliens are terrified of us. Gasps rippled through the room. Teachers stared at the screen in disbelief, their minds struggling to process what they were seeing. Aliens? Starships? Galactic defense? It sounded like something straight out of a science fiction movie. Yet here was undeniable proof, presented by someone who clearly knew what she was talking about. As questions began pouring in, Emily held up a hand to silence the crowd. Let me explain everything, she said, taking a seat beside her father. But first, let's start with how we got here. And so, with bated breath, the teachers settled back into their chairs, eager to hear the rest of the story. Little did they know, this was only the beginning of a revelation that would change their lives and the world forever. The faculty lounge, once filled with casual chatter and laughter, now buzzed with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. Teachers leaned forward in their chairs, eyes glued to Emily Thompson as she sat beside her father. Her calm demeanor stood in stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotion swirling around the room. She adjusted her glasses, a small, almost imperceptible gesture, but it seemed to command even more attention. Everyone wanted answers, and they were about to get them. Emily glanced at the tablet on the table, its screen still displaying the live feed of the massive triangular ships hovering in space. Before we dive deeper, she began, her voice steady, but warm, let me clarify one thing. What you're seeing isn't a hoax or a special effects video. These are real spacecraft, star destroyers, built by humanity over decades of secret research and development. A murmur rippled through the group. Some teachers nodded slowly, trying to process what they were being told, while others exchanged skeptical looks. Mrs. Carter, ever the rational thinker, raised her hand hesitantly. But how is this possible? She asked. We've been hearing about alien invasions and UFO sightings for years, but no one has ever shown us proof like this before. Emily smiled faintly, appreciating the question. That's because most of what people see, or think they see, is either misinformation or genuine encounters that governments choose not to disclose. Humanity's progress into space has been deliberately kept under wraps to avoid panic and maintain control. But now, she paused, letting the weight of her next words sink in. Now, the time for secrecy is over. She tapped the screen, zooming in on one of the star destroyers. The ship was enormous, easily dwarfing anything humans had previously constructed. Its sleek design gleamed with advanced materials, and faint blue lights pulsed along its edges like veins carrying energy. This fleet belongs to Earth's Galactic Defense Initiative, or GDI, she explained. It was formed decades ago after humanity made contact with extraterrestrial life, not through peaceful means but through hostile probes sent by neighboring civilizations. Hostile probes? Mr. Patel, the math teacher, interjected, his brow furrowed. What do you mean? Emily nodded. Glad someone had asked. Imagine this. Aliens observing Earth from afar, curious about our planet but unsure whether we pose a threat. Instead of making direct contact, some decided to send unmanned drones to study us. These probes were often cloaked, invisible to the naked eye, but occasionally they slipped up. That's when things got interesting. She pulled up another image on the tablet, a grainy black and white photo of what looked like a metallic object hovering above a desert landscape. This was taken during the Roswell incident in 1947. While many dismissed it as a weather balloon or conspiracy theory, the truth is far more complex. One of those probes crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. The U.S. military recovered it, and everything changed. The room fell silent again. Teachers stared at the photo, their minds racing. If what Emily was saying was true, then humanity's understanding of history and its place in the universe was fundamentally flawed. What did they find? Mrs. Lopez, the art teacher, whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Emily hesitated, for a moment choosing her words carefully. They found technology far beyond anything we'd ever seen. Advanced propulsion systems, energy sources, and material science that defied conventional physics. At first, scientists struggled to understand it, but eventually they cracked the code. Over the years, governments pooled resources and knowledge to reverse engineer the alien tech. And that's how the GDI was born. But why would aliens be scared of us? Mr. Patel pressed, his tone incredulous. From what I've read, they're supposed to be light years ahead of us in terms of technology. Emily leaned back in her chair, considering the question. You're right. They are technologically superior in many ways. But there's something they didn't account for: human unpredictability. You see, most advanced civilizations follow strict protocols and universal norms. They expect other species to behave similarly, to grow, expand, and eventually self-destruct due to internal conflicts or environmental collapse. Humans, however, broke the mold. She pointed to the screen again, where a diagram showed Earth surrounded by a network of satellites and orbital platforms. Instead of destroying ourselves, we thrived. We adapted. We innovated. And thanks to the breakthroughs from reverse engineering alien tech, we developed weapons and defenses that rival, even surpass, their own. At this point, several teachers exchanged wide-eyed glances. The idea that humanity could outpace aliens seemed absurd, yet Emily spoke with such conviction that it was hard to dismiss her claims outright. And the AI, she added, tapping another section of the diagram. That's what really tipped the scales. Our greatest weapon isn't firepower, it's intelligence. Aegis, the artificial intelligence system aboard every Star Destroyer, can predict enemy movements, analyze data faster than any human mind, and make split-second decisions in combat scenarios. It's autonomous, meaning no single person controls it, which ensures accountability and prevents misuse. So aliens are scared because we're unpredictable and powerful, Mrs. Lopez summarized, her voice tinged with awe. Precisely, Emily confirmed. And here's the kicker. They expected us to crumble under the pressure of their surveillance. They thought we'd turn on each other or destroy our planet through war or pollution. But instead, we united. We worked together to protect ourselves. And now they're watching, waiting to see what we'll do next. As Emily spoke, the gravity of the situation began to dawn on everyone in the room. This wasn't just a story about spaceships and aliens. It was a testament to human resilience, ingenuity, and determination. For centuries, humanity had dreamed of reaching the stars, and now, against all odds, it had done so. Mr. Thompson, who had remained unusually quiet throughout the explanation, finally chimed in. "See, I told you," he said, grinning ear to ear. "Didn't I say aliens were terrified of us?" This time, no one laughed. Instead, the teachers erupted into a flurry of questions, eager to learn more. Emily patiently answered each one, providing details about the GDI's mission, the role of global cooperation, and the ethical dilemmas posed by wielding such immense power. As the discussion continued, one thing became clear. The world would never be the same again. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, and its presence demanded attention. Whether this newfound status would lead to peace or conflict remained to be seen. But for now, the teachers of Greenfield High School could only marvel at the enormity of it all. When the session ended, Emily packed up her tablet and stood to leave. Before stepping out, she turned to face the group one last time. "Remember, she said softly. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to discover and so much more to protect. With that, she walked out of the lounge, leaving behind a room full of stunned educators grappling with the implications of what they had just learned. For Mr. Thompson, the experience brought a sense of pride. His daughter wasn't just a scientist, she was a pioneer shaping the future of humanity. As the teachers slowly dispersed, murmuring excitedly about what they had heard, one thing was certain. The days of dismissing Mr. Thompson's stories were officially over. The faculty lounge was still buzzing with excitement as Emily Thompson's words echoed in everyone's minds. The teachers of Greenfield High School, once content with their daily routines of grading papers and managing classrooms, now found themselves grappling with an entirely new reality. Aliens existed. Earth had starships. And humanity wasn't the weakling of the galaxy. It was a rising power that commanded respect, even fear, from extraterrestrial civilizations. But how had this happened? How had humanity gone from a species struggling to survive on its own planet to one capable of defending itself against interstellar threats? Emily returned to the lounge the following afternoon, her presence greeted with eager anticipation. She carried a stack of folders and her trusty tablet ready to delve deeper into the story she had begun the day before. As she settled into her seat, the room fell silent, every pair of eyes fixed on her. Mr. Thompson beamed proudly from the corner, clearly enjoying the newfound admiration his colleagues were showing him, and by extension, his daughter. Yesterday, Emily began, opening her tablet. I gave you an overview of the GDI and explained why aliens are scared of us. Today I want to take you back in time, to the moment everything changed for humanity. She tapped the screen, and a timeline appeared stretching across centuries. It started with ancient civilizations gazing at the stars, dreaming of what lay beyond. Then came the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, and finally the Space Age. Each era marked a step forward in human progress, but none compared to the events that unfolded after the Roswell incident. When the U.S. military recovered that alien probe in 1947, Emily continued, it sparked a chain reaction. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to understand the technology embedded within it. At first, progress was slow. The materials were unlike anything we'd ever encountered, and the energy sources defied conventional physics. But over time, breakthroughs began to emerge. She zoomed in on a section of the timeline labeled reverse engineering. By the late 20th century, governments around the world realized they couldn't tackle this alone, so they formed secret alliances pooling resources and expertise to unlock the secrets of alien tech. This collaboration laid the foundation for what would eventually become the Galactic Defense Initiative, or GDI. Mrs. Carter leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. But how did they keep all of this hidden from the public? She asked. Surely someone must have noticed. Emily nodded, acknowledging the question. That's where misinformation comes in. Governments are experts at controlling narratives. Any sightings of experimental aircraft or unusual phenomena were dismissed as weather balloons, atmospheric anomalies, or outright hoaxes. Meanwhile, the real work continued behind closed doors, in remote facilities buried deep underground or floating in orbit above Earth. She pulled up another image. A massive underground lab filled with scientists in white coats surrounded by futuristic equipment. This is Area 51, she said, pointing to the screen. And yes, it exists. Not just as a conspiracy theory, but as a hub for cutting-edge research. Similar facilities exist in other countries, each contributing to the global effort. The teachers stared at the image, their skepticism giving way to fascination. If what Emily was saying was true, then humanity's greatest achievements had been hidden in plain sight all along. But reverse engineering alien tech wasn't enough, Emily added, scrolling further down the timeline. We needed something more, a weapon that could rival the firepower of advanced alien civilizations. That's when we turned to artificial intelligence. AI, Mr. Patel repeated, raising an eyebrow. You mean like robots? Not exactly, Emily replied. AI, or artificial intelligence, isn't just about robots. It's about creating systems that can think, learn, and adapt faster than any human mind. For the GDI, AI became our greatest asset and our most powerful weapon. She brought up a new diagram showing the architecture of Aegis, the autonomous system aboard every Star Destroyer. Aegis operates independently, analyzing data from thousands of sensors and satellites in real time. It predicts enemy movements, identifies weaknesses, and makes tactical decisions without human intervention. This ensures efficiency and accountability. No single person controls these ships, Aegis does. And that's what scares the aliens? Mrs. Lopez asked, her voice tinged with awe. Exactly, Emily confirmed. Alien civilizations operate under strict protocols. They value order, predictability, and hierarchy. Humans, on the other hand, are chaotic. We innovate, adapt, and improvise. Combine that with Aegis's ability to outthink them, and you have a recipe for disaster, from their perspective anyway. As Emily spoke, the teachers began to see the bigger picture. Humanity's rise to power wasn't just about technology, it was about mindset. While aliens relied on tradition and caution, humans embraced risk and creativity. This fundamental difference made Earth a wild card, a force that couldn't be easily predicted or controlled. But there's more, Emily said, her tone growing serious. It wasn't just about defending ourselves. We also had to prove we were worth taking seriously. She clicked through several images showing historical milestones. The launch of the International Space Station, the Mars rover missions, and the discovery of exoplanets. Each of these achievements sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity is here, and we're not going anywhere. By the early 21st century, we had established a permanent presence in space. Orbital platforms, moon bases, and asteroid mining operations became part of our infrastructure. To the aliens watching us, it was clear. We weren't just surviving. We were thriving. Mr. Thompson, who had been quietly observing the discussion, chimed in. And don't forget the cultural impact, he said, his voice filled with pride. Music, art, literature, all of it inspired by our journey to the stars. Even your students probably dream of becoming astronauts or scientists. That's humanity's strength, our ability to inspire and unite. Emily smiled at her father's comment. He's right, she said. Culture plays a huge role in shaping identity. For centuries, humanity looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now we know we're not. And instead of cowering in fear, we've chosen to stand tall. Her words resonated deeply with the group. For the first time, they saw themselves not as ordinary teachers, but as part of something much larger. Their roles in shaping young minds suddenly felt more significant than ever. Before wrapping up, Emily shared one final revelation. The unveiling of the Star Destroyers, the event you witnessed yesterday, wasn't just for show. It was a declaration. We wanted the galaxy to know that Earth is ready to defend itself, but more importantly, we wanted to send a message to humanity. We're capable of greatness. Together we've achieved the impossible. As the session ended, the teachers sat in stunned silence, reflecting on everything they had learned. Humanity's journey to the stars was far from over, but one thing was certain. The days of looking up at the sky with wonder were gone. From now on, they would look up with pride, knowing that Earth's place among the stars was secure. For Mr. Thompson, the experience solidified his status as a visionary. His daughter's achievements had proven that sometimes truth really is stranger and more inspiring than fiction. The days following Emily Thompson's revelations brought a whirlwind of emotions for the teachers at Greenfield High School. What had started as an ordinary Friday afternoon in the faculty lounge had turned into something extraordinary, a crash course in humanity's place in the cosmos. But nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. It was Monday morning, and the school bell rang out across the campus, signaling the start of another week. Teachers shuffled into classrooms, students filed through hallways, and life seemed to return to its usual rhythm. That is, until mid-morning when a low rumble echoed through the sky. At first it sounded like distant thunder, but there was no storm in sight. The clear blue sky stretched endlessly above, unblemished by clouds or rain. Curious students began stepping outside, their eyes scanning the heavens for answers. Then, without warning, the unimaginable occurred. A bright flash illuminated the horizon, followed by a deafening crack, the sound of the very fabric of the atmosphere splitting apart. Gasps erupted as the sky itself appeared to tear open, revealing a vast expanse of stars that hadn't been visible moments before. Hovering amidst this celestial spectacle were dozens of massive star destroyers, their sleek triangular forms glinting under the sunlight. The sight was breathtaking and terrifying. Students froze in awe while teachers scrambled to make sense of what they were witnessing. Phones buzzed incessantly as everyone tried to capture the moment on camera, but words failed them. No video or photograph could do justice to the sheer scale and majesty of the event unfolding overhead. Back in the faculty lounge, Mr. Thompson stood by the window, his face lit with pride. Beside him, Emily watched silently, her expression unreadable. "This is it," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "This is the day everything changes." "What's happening?" Mrs. Carter asked, her voice trembling. She clutched the windowsill for support, her wide eyes fixed on the ships hovering high above. "It's the unveiling," Emily explained, turning to face the group. The Galactic Defense Initiative wanted to send a message, not just to aliens, but to humanity. "We're here. We're ready. And we're not afraid to show it." As the teachers processed her words, the implications hit home. This wasn't just a display of power. It was a declaration of independence. For centuries, humanity had looked up at the stars with wonder and fear, wondering if intelligent life existed beyond Earth. Now, there was no doubt. Aliens knew about humanity, and humanity knew about them. The question was no longer if contact would happen, but when and how. Down in the courtyard, students gathered in clusters, pointing excitedly at the ships above. Some cheered, others cried, and a few simply stood in stunned silence. Teachers rushed outside to calm the chaos, unsure whether to feel reassured or alarmed. Amidst the commotion, Emily stepped forward, addressing the crowd over the school's PA system. "To everyone watching," she began, her voice steady and clear, "what you're seeing today is proof of humanity's potential. These star destroyers represent decades of hard work, sacrifice, and collaboration. They are symbols of our strength, ingenuity, and determination to protect ourselves and our future." Her words resonated deeply, cutting through the noise and offering a sense of clarity. Slowly, the initial shock gave way to curiosity. Questions poured in from every direction. Why now? Who built these ships? What happens next? Emily answered patiently, explaining that the unveiling served multiple purposes. First, it was meant to reassure humanity that Earth was prepared to defend itself against any threat, alien or otherwise. Second, it was a signal to extraterrestrial civilizations that humanity was no longer an easy target. Finally, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where humans would take their rightful place among the stars. But perhaps the most surprising revelation came later that evening, during a live broadcast aired worldwide. Representatives from the GDI addressed the global audience, confirming everything Emily had told the teachers. They revealed that several alien factions had already attempted to negotiate peace treaties, fearing retaliation for past transgressions against Earth. "They've been testing us for years," one GDI official explained, "probing our defenses, studying our behavior, trying to figure out if we're a threat. Today, we showed them the answer." The announcement sent shockwaves around the world. News outlets buzzed with speculation, social media exploded with reactions, and governments scrambled to address the sudden shift in public awareness. For the first time in history, humanity faced a collective truth. Earth was part of a much larger universe, and it was time to step up. Back at Greenfield High, the teachers gathered once again in the faculty lounge, their minds racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. Mrs. Lopez broke the silence, her voice filled with wonder. Do you think we'll ever meet them? The aliens, I mean? Emily nodded thoughtfully. We already have, in ways most people don't realize. But yes, direct contact will likely happen sooner rather than later. When it does, humanity needs to be united. We can't afford division or fear. Her words carried weight, reminding everyone of the responsibility that came with such knowledge. Humanity's journey into space wasn't just about exploration. It was about survival. The choices made in the coming years would shape the destiny of billions. As the discussion continued, Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. His daughter had proven him right, not just about aliens, but about humanity's untapped potential. Together they had witnessed the dawn of a new era, one where Earth stood tall among the stars. For the teachers of Greenfield High, the experience was both humbling and inspiring. They realized that their roles extended beyond teaching math, science, or literature. They were shaping the minds of future pioneers, diplomats, and leaders who would carry humanity's legacy into the galaxy. And as the Star Destroyers continued their silent vigil above the planet, one thing became abundantly clear. The story of humanity was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. The days following the unveiling of Earth's Star Destroyers marked a turning point in human history. What had once been whispered about in science fiction novels and late-night conspiracy theories was now undeniable reality. The world watched, in awe as humanity stepped boldly onto the galactic stage, its presence demanding attention, respect, and perhaps even fear from beings beyond the stars. For the teachers at Greenfield High School, life would never be the same again. News outlets around the globe were flooded with interviews, documentaries, and debates about the Galactic Defense Initiative, GDI, and its implications. Scientists, politicians, and philosophers weighed in on what this meant for humanity's future. Schools like Greenfield High quickly adapted, incorporating lessons about space exploration, interstellar diplomacy, and cosmic ethics into their curricula. Textbooks were rewritten, classrooms transformed into hubs of curiosity and imagination, and students began dreaming not just of careers on Earth but among the stars. Mr. Thompson, who had always been seen as an eccentric storyteller, suddenly found himself revered as a visionary. His colleagues no longer laughed at his tales. Instead, they sought him out for insights, or simply to marvel at how prescient he had been. "I told you so," he would say with a wink whenever someone complimented him. But beneath his playful demeanor was a deep sense of pride, not just for his role in sharing the truth, but for his daughter's achievements. Emily Thompson had become a household name, her work inspiring millions worldwide. Emily herself continued her mission with unwavering dedication. As one of the leading figures in the GDI, she traveled between planets, moons, and distant star systems, forging alliances with friendly alien races and negotiating terms of peace with cautious ones. Her job wasn't easy. It required patience, diplomacy, and an unshakable belief in humanity's potential. Yet every time she looked up at the night sky, she felt a surge of hope. Humanity had come so far in such a short time. Imagine where it could go next. Back at Greenfield High, the faculty lounge buzzed with excitement as teachers discussed recent developments. Mrs. Carter brought up the latest news. A delegation of alien ambassadors had arrived on Earth, seeking formal talks with human leaders. "Can you believe it?" she asked, shaking her head in disbelief. "Aliens are actually here, in person." "They're scared," Mr. Patel chimed in, recalling Emily's earlier explanation. "They've seen what we're capable of, and now they want to make sure we don't turn those weapons on them." "Well, can you blame them?" Mrs. Lopez added. "If I were an alien, I'd be terrified too." Their laughter was tinged with nervousness. While the idea of meeting extraterrestrial beings was thrilling, it also raised countless questions. Would these aliens be hostile or peaceful? Could humans truly coexist with beings whose biology, culture, and values might differ drastically from their own? And most importantly, how could humanity ensure that its newfound power didn't corrupt its ideals? These concerns weren't lost on Emily. During one of her rare visits home, she joined her father and his colleagues in the faculty lounge, eager to share updates from the front lines of interstellar diplomacy. "It's a delicate balance," she admitted, sipping a cup of tea. "Some factions see us as equals while others view us as unpredictable threats. Our goal is to build trust, but that takes time." She went on to describe some of the challenges she faced. Language barriers, for instance, were more complex than anyone had anticipated. Alien communication methods ranged from telepathy to bioluminescent signals, requiring advanced translation algorithms powered by Aegis. Cultural misunderstandings were equally tricky. One species mistook humanity's habit of smiling during negotiations as a sign of aggression, nearly derailing talks before Emily intervened. Despite these hurdles, progress was being made. Trade agreements were signed, allowing Earth access to resources and technologies previously unimaginable. Medical advancements, energy solutions, and environmental restoration projects flourished thanks to shared knowledge. Slowly but surely, humanity began carving out its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors but as collaborators. Yet not everyone was thrilled about the changes. Skeptics argued that humanity wasn't ready for such responsibility. Religious groups debated whether interacting with alien life contradicted sacred texts. Conspiracy theorists claimed the entire thing was a hoax orchestrated by governments to distract from earthly problems. Even within the GDI, tensions occasionally flared over how best to handle first contact scenarios. Through it all, Emily remained steadfast. She believed that humanity's greatest strength lay in its diversity, its ability to adapt, innovate, and unite despite differences. "We've faced challenges before," she reminded her audience. "Wars, pandemics, climate crises. We've survived because we worked together. Now we have the chance to do the same on a cosmic scale." Her words resonated deeply, especially with the teachers of Greenfield High. They realized that their roles extended beyond educating young minds. They were shaping the architects of tomorrow's universe. Every lesson plan, every classroom discussion, every interaction mattered. Their students wouldn't just grow up to be doctors, engineers, or artists. They'd become pioneers, negotiators, and guardians of Earth's legacy. One evening, as the faculty gathered in the lounge to celebrate the end of another transformative week, Mr. Thompson stood up to address the group. Holding his chipped mug aloft, he smiled warmly. "To the unknown," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "and to proving doubters wrong." Cheers erupted around the room, echoing off the walls. Teachers clinked their cups together, laughing and reminiscing about how far they'd come. From dismissing Mr. Thompson's stories to witnessing Earth's ascension firsthand, each of them had undergone a personal journey of discovery. They knew that uncertainty lay ahead, but they also knew that humanity was capable of greatness. As the celebration wound down, Emily lingered behind, watching her father with quiet admiration. He may have been an ordinary principal, but his optimism and faith in humanity had inspired countless lives, including hers. Sensing her gaze, Mr. Thompson turned to face her. "What do you think, kiddo?" he asked. "Think we'll survive out there?" Emily grinned, her eyes reflecting the stars above. "Not only will we survive," she replied, "we'll thrive." With that, she hugged her father tightly, feeling a profound sense of gratitude for him, for her colleagues, and for the boundless possibilities that awaited humanity. Outside, the Star Destroyers continued their silent vigil, a reminder that Earth was no longer alone. Far from it. Humanity had joined the galactic community, ready to face whatever challenges and wonders the cosmos held. From that day forward, no one doubted Mr. Thompson's stories. After all, reality had proven far stranger and far more inspiring than fiction.